that it was Stag beer in a can, and later on I decided it probably tasted like elk piss, although I've never tasted elk piss. But obviously it led me on to bigger and better things. I think I was probably about 17 or 18 then, and it was illegal, but what can I say, you know? I might not have had another beer for a couple of years. And then when I was about 20, I started hanging out with some college friends at a bar. And when I was 21, I asked the bartender if he was going to buy me a drink for my birthday. And he said, sure, I'll give you a drink for your birthday. How old are you? And I said 21, and he almost crapped himself because, you know, I'd been in there for like a year.
I was 4 years old, and I was watching the Freddy Krueger movie with my mother. Yes, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. So
she passed you a beer, or you grabbed one by yourself, or what was going on?
she passed it. I was, curious. It was gross, but also, whatever. Times have changed, so yeah, beer is bad.
Actually, I think I was about 6, and my dad had a plastic cup full of beer, and I thought it was soda. And yeah, I drank it, and I was like, "What is this?" But yeah, I didn't like it at all.
Sipping a beer when my dad and his uncle or his brothers were haying, and they'd always have beer when they were done with the hay, and then my uncles would be like, "Here you go." That's old Milwaukee.
How old were you?
6.
What did you think?
I wanted to like it, so.
What about you?
Summer. Parents and aunts and uncles sitting around in lawn chairs in the summer, and the beer of choice at that time was red, white, and blue in cans with the peel-off top that you find. Yeah, so always summer in a lake. So always good memories. First time I tried it, I remember not liking it. Definitely an acquired taste. So, but it was cold. It was cold. So that Coleman cooler with that metal turn latch on it.
I'm not sure. Maybe in 15, 16, when parents gave it to me. It was in the house. It was safe.
What did you think of it?
I didn't like it. I had to wait till I was in college and, kind of indoctrinated in the whole thing.
So it was like a couple of years after your first beer before you had another one?
Yes. Yeah. Parents were not beer drinkers, so didn't have beer in the home.
It was gross. Actually, I was at a kegger and I couldn't even drink it. I kept taking my friend's cup who would keep drinking it and replacing it, and I would never drink it because it was so gross. But now I learned to love it. So.
Yeah, how long did it take?
Oh my God, probably almost a year until I finally enjoyed the taste.
Over the course of that year, did you keep trying beers over and over again?
Yeah, well, when you're in high school, that's when I first started. It's always by the crappy watered down beer. So it got better over time once I wasn't so cheap.
I think my very first beer is when my dad found out, and he picked me up and threw me in the old Reliant K car. My head bounced off the ceiling and back down on the floor, and that was my first beer.
The very first beer that I had was on the back deck with my dad. He poured out a little bit of Leinenkugels for me to taste, and honestly, I thought it was terrible. But that was my first taste, As time went on, I grew to love it.
Well, I remember I was really young, and I think it was like a Christmas or something like that. I asked my dad for a taste of his beer, and from there I've been drunk ever since.
Did you like it, that first try?
I actually did like it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, most people say it's an acquired taste. You're like the first guy I've interviewed who said I like it.
I acquired it before I even tasted it, I think.
Just genetically passed down to
I think it was, yeah.
All I wanna do is drink beer for breakfast.
Being from Ohio, I'm not in quite the beer culture as Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a finer beer than we do in Ohio, but sadly it was probably in high school. My boyfriend was a year older than I was, so I had a good old natural light beer for the first time, and now I'm experienced with New Glarus and all the good breweries in Wisconsin. So.
What did you think of that first beer when you had it?
It was interesting. I actually liked beer the first time I had it. I wasn't one of those people that was kind of dreading the taste of beer. A lot of people kind of have a bad stigma about beer. They don't think it's as good, and I love beer. I'm not a big wine drinker. I like beer, so I think it was good.
My first beer was in high school. Unfortunately, sorry Mom and Dad. It was a natural light. It was pretty horrible. But now I've evolved into liking New Glarus is actually my favorite, but I like all the Wisconsin beers. I'm really happy that I'm from Wisconsin and I go to school here, so I get to enjoy a lot of the microbreweries that other states don't have.
What their memories are of the very first beer they ever had.
A headache.
Do you remember how old you were when this headache occurred?
12.
Did you have a full beer or just a sip of somebody?
Oh, a full beer. Nothing but a full-bodied beer.
Right. You were 12.
Yes.
Do you want to describe the circumstances any more than that?
Just hanging around with my dad.
So then how long was it before you had your second beer after that headache?
That afternoon.
All I wanna do is drink beer for breakfast.
For me, it would definitely be one of my older brother's parties where I, snuck into the crowd and hit the keg of Bud.
How old were you?
Oh, probably 10.
What did you think?
I liked the feeling that it gave me, but I didn't like the taste at all. And yeah, the beer here today is quite a bit better taste than what I had that day.
How about you?
I think my first experience with beer was probably in a glass this size, like a 10-cent tap or something at a small bar in Minnesota.
There wasn't that many memories because eventually I got drunk and I forgot what happened.
How old were you?
14 probably.
So what kind of beer it was?
Corona. That was my first beer.
And you liked it right off the bat?
Not really. It was just spur of the moment. Tasted it.
Drank enough of it to get drunk.
Yeah. I was young, so right.
Other than what my dad maybe let me try, I think I was grounded after my first beer.
I was like 14 with my first beer, and my dad let me try it, and I hated it at the time. I didn't like it so many years afterwards.
How long was it before your second beer?
Till she was 21 years old.
21, alright?
Because that's the legal drinking age, and everyone should abide by it.
Actually, this is my first beer.
I was 21.
My very
High school party.
High school party, probably my very first beer. 2004.
My friend got a few cases, and we went to
beer. Natural Light.
I had Natural Ice actually.
Natural Light was my first beer ever, and maybe the worst beer I've ever had. And the
We
worst
still
part
drink
is,
it every
I still
day.
love to drink it every day.
Well,
No,
I mean,
that's
we
that.
have budgets.
The economy's in downturn right now. Come on, I'm trying to budget myself. I like it.
If I could have this, what was the brewery that we had? The Franken, whatever.
Oh, the.
What are you drinking right now?
Right now we're drinking the Shandy from the.
What's that called? The Svengali. You haven't even tried it yet. It's called the Svengali. It's great.
Oh, it was Ham's in my parents' basement. And it was out of a glass about this size. And that's what my grandmother drank. And she liked a lot of foam at the top.
So did she give you one, your grandma?
Yes, she did. And I was probably about 8 years old.
What did you think?
I liked it.
Oh, really? Right off the bat?
Right off the bat, I was a beer drinker.
And it tasted like crap. And it was like the cheapest beer I ever had in my life.
Do you remember what kind of beer it was?
It was red, white, and blue. That might date me, but oh well, that's life.
All I wanna do is drink beer for breakfast.
I've had so many different beers as a young child growing up in rural Wisconsin that I really can't identify the first one, but I definitely can identify a character and flavor, and that was of a traditional Wisconsin brewed Pilsner or lager?
The first beer I had or the first beer that I liked?
First beer you had.
Okay. The first beer that I had was, the same sort of story, like at a party of your parents have like a big neighborhood thing, and you taste it and you're like, ew, that's horrible. It was probably Falstaff. I remember that because of the rebuses that they would have inside the caps, and so we always liked it when my dad got new beer. The first beer that I had that I liked was on a high school trip to Austria, and I realized that, wow, this is why people like this, because it tastes really great. So that's about it.